Hello again, it's Glenn Gould. It's Wednesday, and on Wednesday we give you a big tip for your small business or your entrepreneurship. And remember, you don't have to work just for yourself in order to be an entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur within your organization. We give these tips in order to help you build your business or your work life because we believe that greater freedom is found through our work. Things are getting really interesting here in the States. If you're in the United States or even if you're internationally, you've got to be following the election here in the United States. Of course, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton. Something interesting is happening here in this election, actually in every election. What most people don't recognize is that the people that were nominated to run for president right now are a reflection of us. In all honesty, you could make the summation that pretty much all of America is pissed off. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today. Not that all of America is pissed off, but that the people that are running, the people that we have nominated, are actually a reflection of us. Now, how does this tie into your business? Well, very simply, take a look at your customer base because they're a reflection of you and your business. And this is a really important thing to look at because quite often we end up with a customer base that reflects a business that we didn't intend. Sometimes our pricing schedule and our pricing plans draw in people that aren't really suited to the type of business that we intended to create. Sometimes when we go to work for somebody, we work for less than we should, thinking that we're indicating to them we're willing to work with them and prove ourselves, only to find out they never intended to raise our wages. If you have a lot of customers that aren't paying you what you think your company is worth, what your service or what your product is worth, well, you only need to look at yourself to find out what it was that you did to attract those customers, those clients, in the first place. Sometimes we make the mistake of attracting business for business's sake only to discover that we're way off the mark for our ideal client and for the product or service that we are ideally positioned to provide. It's essential that you stop for a moment and take a look at your customer base and find out who they are and if they are in fact the right customers for the product or service that you intended to supply. Not the product or service that you are actually supplying now. This is something where you can make a course correction. Unfortunately, in our election process, we're going to be stuck with one of these two that we are now voting for. And there's nothing we can do to course correct. But you and your business or you and your work life have a great opportunity to stop for a moment and take a look at what you wanted and see if your customer base or if your client base or if the employer you have chosen is actually ideally suited for what you wanted to do. I do want to talk a little bit about the election. You see, on November 8th, people in the United States will go into a booth, and sadly only about half of us will, maybe 2/3, and we will vote for who will lead our country for the next 4 years. The big mistake we're making is we're believing that that's the only thing that matters. The truth is, when you go into that booth on November 8th, you're merely voting for a representative of you. And the question I have for you today is, what are you doing to make sure that you improve your situation? Don't expect for a government or a representative or a president to change your personal situation. The only person who can do that is you. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about what do you do if your best isn't good enough. I'll put a link to that in the description below. But the fact is that we all have to be better than our best. It's okay if you are giving your all, but if your best isn't good enough, that's not okay. Giving your all is what's essential. And most of us don't do that. Somewhere along the line, we forgot that we're in charge of us. Somewhere along the line, we forgot that government isn't here to save us. The only thing that government really is here to do is to make sure that the rights that we were promised are actually delivered. And government's getting pretty poor at that as well. The truth is, the only people we can depend on are ourselves. The only one that you can count on to improve your situation is you. So here's my question for you today. What have you done lately to improve your own situation? What have you done to ensure that you will be better off next year than you were last year? If it's voting for somebody, don't count on it. The only person you need to vote on, or the only person you need to vote for, is yourself. Get out a pen and a piece of paper and write down some things that you want to accomplish this year, regardless of who's president of the United States. And that's easy for you in the international community. You really don't have to worry about who's president of the United States. This country is led by the people. And at the end of the day, our people will make sure that we're headed in the right direction. So here's the big tip that I hope you take from today. It's actually two things. First of all, remember that your customer base, your client base, or your employer is a reflection of the work that you are doing. If it isn't congruent with what you wanted to do, if it isn't congruent with the product or service you intended to deliver, well, change them. You don't have to keep customers, and you certainly don't have to keep an employer. That's tip number one. But tip number two is, remember, it's up to you. Nobody's here to save you but you. Doesn't matter who you vote for, doesn't matter who represents you. What matters is what you do and what you plan to do and how well you execute the two. So I hope that tip was helpful for you today. We'd love for you to subscribe. I publish a new video every Wednesday, and of course some other videos and other material throughout the week. If you're a subscriber, of course, you'll get the information first. Please like this video on Facebook and share it with your friends. We really appreciate that. If you also are a Twitter user, if you would tweet the video, we'd appreciate that as well. But remember, folks, get out there this week and do something for yourself, because you're the only one you can count on. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next week.